So the next few videos will be reviews of some programming principles that you've encountered but maybe don't fully understand, and a little bit deeper dives into each of these. This first one's going to be about variables and constants, or what we also call values in Kotlin, and data types, so things like strings, ints, etc. So I'm in REPL and I'm just playing around. I'm going to go ahead and write a value, and we'll call it my number, and we'll set it equal to 5. Okay, let's write another value called my word, and we'll set it equal to the word hello there. Let's do a value called my true false, and we'll have that equal to false. So these three values above, these are all different constant values that we've created. So the difference between these and the word var, right, is that one is mutable. The var is mutable, meaning it can be changed, and val up here can't be changed, right? It's not supposed to be changed in our code. And in fact, it won't work if you try to. Var, on the other hand, can be changed, at our will at any time in the code. The reason for this difference is that they occupy different kind of like spaces. You can think of it like different spaces. And var takes up a lot more space than val. So we only ever want to use val, or we only ever want to use var whenever we absolutely have to, right? We want to stick with val most of the time unless we need a value that we're constantly changing. And even if we're changing the value each time we're maybe like running a button, like in the last video you saw with the random number, we can still use val because it's being erased and overwritten every time. Var is really more for things like animations and stuff like that. It's going to be pretty rare that you use it, at least at the beginning of your programming, and as you get on with it, you'll start to use var more and more, but only if you're setting it directly in the code and not through like some sort of user interaction. So let's write a variable called my decimal, and this one will be equal to 7.2 or something like that. So we have all of these different values that we've created, and these have different data types, right? And you probably remember some of these types off the top of your head, but this my number is actually an int. This my word is actually a string. My true false is actually a Boolean. And my decimal is actually a double. So these different things represent different data types, and different data types basically tell us what is this variable or this value. So my number is an int, so it can only ever be set to equal an int, right? It's only ever going to be a whole integer, a whole number. My word is a string, and so it's only ever going to be a string, which is a series of characters or letters within two quotes. My true false is a Boolean, which means it's always going to be true or it's always going to be false. And my decimal is a double, which means it's always going to have a decimal place. So looking through this, before though, was just fine. We didn't actually have to explicitly say these types. This is called type inference. And type inference is where we're able to infer the data type by what it's equal to. So this data type of this my number, we set it equal to 5, and so it infers that this is an integer. It infers that this is a string, and it inferred that this was a true-false statement. Whenever we explicitly annotate the type, this is type annotation, we're just telling the computer, we're confirming, hey, this is definitely going to be a Boolean, hey, this is definitely going to be a double, definitely an int. So a couple things that we've learned about strings, just to very briefly go over that, is that strings can have a lot of different types of data held within them, but it's our most typical way of displaying text. And we can use the $sign to say something like my number to insert this as a string. So this will say, hello there, 5. It'll insert that 5 there. There's also escape characters and lots of other things with strings that we've played with. We've done things like dot to string, right? We've done plenty of different functions that you can look back on. But this is basically how we display our data to the user. We're almost always going to be using strings.